Start with impedance audiometry. Impedance audiometry, it has three parts. Okay? So if we see impedance audiometry, it has three parts. The first is tympanometry. Now generally what happens is when we talk about impedance audiometry, it is taken as tympanometry is considered as impedance audiometry. They are used, these are the terms which are used for one another, but actually if we see, then impedance audiometry consists of three parts. One is tympanometry, second one is to check the eustachian tube function, and the third part is acoustic reflex, to check the acoustic reflex, acoustic or stapedial reflex. So when we consider all three together, then it is called impedance audiometry. But generally, since long, impedance audiometry and tympanometry, they are considered same. The eustachian tube function and acoustic reflex, that we will discuss sometimes else, but today I will be dealing primarily with tympanometry. Okay? Now, what are the different types of hearing loss? It can be conductive hearing loss.
Sensory neural hearing
This
loss.
can be, generally we consider it as sensory neural hearing loss. Okay. Conductive hearing loss, it is because of the pathology in which part of the auditory pathway.
Bone.
So either it can be in external ear or it can be in middle ear. So if any of these is involved, either external or middle ear, it will lead to conductive hearing loss. Sensory neural hearing loss, again it can be divided into sensory and neural. Sensory means any pathology in the cochlea, and neural means beyond cochlea, the rest of the auditory pathway. So it is sometimes called retrocochlear. Now because the audiological and as well as sometimes the clinical features of these two conditions are same, that is why it is considered as a single entity. But if you go for special investigations of hearing like SI, short increment sensitivity index or tone decay test, then we will be able to differentiate between the sensory type of hearing loss and the neural type of hearing loss. Fine. Now if suppose the patient is having conductive hearing loss, so in that condition either the external ear may be involved or the middle ear will be involved. Because if anything is involved beyond that, that will be SNHL, that will not be conductive component. Okay. Now external ear we can examine. We can examine the external ear with a Bull's lamp, headlight, torch, and we can examine the canal as well as the tympanic membrane with otoscopes. So up till the external ear we can examine. But what about the middle ear? Can we directly examine the middle ear? Is there any investigation by which we can examine the middle ear? So if a patient is having conductive hearing loss and the external ear is normal, what does it suggest? It suggests that there is any pathology of the middle ear, isn't it? Now because we are not able to look into the middle ear directly, we look for evidence of any pathology in the middle ear indirectly. And that is where the impedance audiometry, or more specifically tympanometry, comes into action. Then it becomes the investigation of choice. So if somebody asks you, what is the indication for tympanometry? It is a patient of conductive hearing loss with normal external ear, which includes normal tympanic membrane also. Got it? So now let's see how impedance audiometry is done. In impedance audiometry, it is an objective test, first of all. It is an objective test. In impedance audiometry, there is a probe which fits snugly. It's a portable machine, small machine, from which a probe comes out and it is fit snugly in the external ear. Now if you open that probe, we will see that it has 3 channels. That probe has 3 channels. The first channel, channel 1, it is transmitter. It is transmitter. So transmitter, what will it do? It will deliver the sound to the ear of 220 Hertz. The second channel, it is the microphone. It's a very small plug. Actually छोटा सा ही होता है. It snugly fits in the ear. But उसके अंदर भी ये 3 channels होते हैं. The second one is microphone or transducer, I suppose. That is transducer. Okay. This is microphone. Transducer. Please check it. What is the terminology used for this? Oscillator. Okay. So let's use that term only. Oscillator. This is oscillator, which delivers a sound of 220 Hertz. Okay. The second component, as I told you, it is the microphone. The microphone receives the reflected sound. And the third component, it is the air pump. So that is air pump. So what is the function of air pump? It produces pressure changes in the external auditory canal. Okay. So this probe, it is snugly fit into the external auditory emitters, which has 3 channels. Oscillator to produce a sound of 220 Hertz, microphone to receive the reflected sound, and the air pump to make pressure changes in the external ear. Now, what is the principle of impedance audiometry? So, whatever sound is delivered in the ear, some of the sound it is reflected back, and some it is absorbed by the tympano-ossicular system. So by tympano-ossicular, I mean the external ear, the tympanic membrane, and the middle ear, that is ossicles. So some part of the sound it is reflected back, and some part it is transmitted. So if we go into the literal meaning of impedance audiometry, impedance means to resist, rokna. So whatever sound is delivered in the ear, not all sound is allowed to pass through. Some of the sound is reflected back. So the amount of the sound that is reflected back can give us an idea about the condition of the middle ear. So that is a very basic principle in very simple language of impedance audiometry. Impede means to resist. So whatever sound it is resisted, it is an indirect evidence of the condition of the middle ear, which is plotted in the form of a graph. In last lecture in tympanogram, pure tone audiogram, the graph was plotted between the frequency on the x-axis and intensity in decibels on y-axis. Now here again there are 2 axes, so the graph is plotted on x and y-axis like this. Okay, so on x-axis pressure is plotted, pressure, and the unit of pressure here is millimeters of water. Okay. On y-axis, compliance is plotted. Compliance, and the unit of compliance is milliliters. Compliance means the ease with which the sound passes through the middle ear. Okay. So this is a graph where compliance is plotted against pressure. So that air pump that we saw, it will decrease or increase the pressure, and whatever compliance we get, that we will plot in this graph. Actually the machine plots it because it is an objective test, but we need to interpret the findings of that graph. So let's see what are the different types of graphs that we can get in tympanogram, tympanometry. So before that, the normal compliance of the middle ear, it is somewhere from 0.6 to 0.6 to 1 ml, which is at 0 millimeter of water. Okay, the normal compliance, you can just check it. What is the normal compliance? It is somewhere between 0.6 to 1. How much it?
0.35 to
0.35 to
1.4.
1.4. Anyways, so it falls in this range. Okay, and that comes at 0 millimeter of water pressure, which is actually the ambient air pressure, because the function of the eustachian tube is to equilibrate middle ear pressure with that of the surrounding. Okay, any pressure on the left side will be considered negative, and any pressure on the right side will be considered positive. So clear up till now? Any questions? So this graph of compliance versus pressure, we will see what are the different types of graphs that we get. So let's see. So we consider that this is the normal compliance. So if we get this type of graph of normal compliance at 0 millimeter of pressure, it means that maximum compliance is at ambient air pressure. It means the eustachian tube function is normal, so that it is able to equilibrate the middle ear pressure with that of the atmosphere. So this is called type This is called type A. Is it visible or should I use a different thing? It is visible. It is called type A. So there will be three things now. There will be three things. First is the type of the curve. Second is what is the pressure in that, what is the compliance in that, and what are the conditions in which we get such type of curve. Okay, so this is the first type. As I told you, this is type A. Type A. Here the pressure is normal.
Yeah.
It's not visible. Let me change the color. Wait, let me use the red one. No issues. Yeah. So type A. This is type A. Here we see the pressure is normal. Normal pressure. The compliance is normal. That is maximum. Normal means maximum compliance. So this is seen in which condition?
Normal.
With the normal middle ear. So here the middle ear is normal. Got it? Next slide. Here what is normal? Pressure is normal. What is abnormal? Compliance is decreased. So this is called type AS. A with a subscript S. AS type of curve. This is seen in any pathology which causes fixation of the ossicles. The most commonly we know that is autosclerosis, or even sometimes it is seen in Epimelius fixation is also here. So ossicular fixation. Ossicular fixation. Got it? Another type. Here what is normal? Pressure is normal. What about compliance? It is increased. Okay? So this type of curve is called AD type of curve. AD. So you can remember from D, oscicular discontinuity. So this type of graph, that is AD, it is seen in oscicular discontinuity when the compliance is increased. All sound goes in. Or if the tympanic membrane is very thin and lax, so that it is not able to reflect much sound, rather than it allows sound to enter. So either in oscicular discontinuity or thin tympanic membrane, thin or lax tympanic membrane. Got it? Clear up till now? So type A, everything normal. Type B, type AS, decreased compliance, normal pressure. And type AD, increased compliance, normal pressure. So one thing you might have noted, that if there is any time, the pressure is always normal. The compliance can be normal, can be decreased, can be increased. Got it? So this is a type AS curve, this is a type A curve, this is a type AD curve. Clear up till now? So these are the three types of graphs that we get. Moving further, so this is, you can consider it as a flat curve or a dome shaped curve. Here compliance does not change much with pressure. Okay? This type B curve, we see that there is not much change in the compliance. More or less compliance is same at all pressures. Okay? So this is called a B type of curve, or a flat type of curve, or a dome shaped curve. Now this type of curve is seen in, here pressure, there is no change in the pressure. Compliance is less. Okay? Pressure, there is no change of pressure on the compliance, however the compliance is less, and this type of graph is seen in fluid in middle ear. It is seen in
serious otitis.
Yeah, fluid in middle ear. So any cause of fluid, it can be serious otitis media, it can be even fluid in the acute suppurative otitis media, or it can be seen in a traumatic case where there is hemotympano, that is fluid collection in the middle ear. Okay, so in that type of this thing, we get a type B curve where there is no identifiable peak. यहाँ पे peak नहीं है, almost same है pressure. Got it? Now finally we have a graph which is called C type, which looks something like this. Here what is normal? Compliance is normal. Okay, so compliance is normal. What about pressure? Negative pressure. It means that the middle ear pressure, to get the normal compliance, the pressure needs to be decreased. We are not able to get the normal compliance at ambient air pressure, but to get the normal compliance, the pressure in the air pump, when it is decreased, then the compliance becomes normal. The reason is that the eustachian tube is not functioning properly. Okay? The eustachian tube, it is not functioning properly. That is why the normal compliance, it has a negative middle ear pressure. So which is called type C graph. Now if you consider this is seen in eustachian tube dysfunction. Eustachian tube dysfunction. Now as I told you earlier also, if you consider ossicular fixation, ossicular discontinuity, thin or lax tympanic membrane, fluid in the middle ear, or eustachian tube dysfunction, what is common among all these conditions? There are two things which are common. What are those? The first thing is that all are causes of conductive hearing loss. And the second thing is that in all these conditions, the tympanic membrane will be normal. or the external ear will be normal. So that was the first condition I told you, that what is the indication of impedance audiometry. It is conductive hearing loss with normal external ear, that is normal tympanic membrane. Is it clear? So just to recapitulate, there are 5 types of graphs that we get in impedance. Type A graph, which means pressure is normal, compliance is normal, it means normal middle ear. Type AS, where the compliance decreases but the pressure is normal, it is seen in ossicular fixation like otosclerosis. Type AD, green color, which here also the pressure is normal but the compliance is increased. So this is seen in discontinuity of ossicles, ossicular disruption, ossicular discontinuity. Then type B, which is a flat curve. This is seen in any condition which has fluid in the middle ear. The common ones are secretory otitis media or acute suppurative otitis media. And finally, in this blue color it is depicted here, type C curve, where the pressure is decreased but the compliance is normal. Okay, so in your NEET or next exams you may face such graphs, or even theoretical questions can be framed that in following of the conditions, the middle ear compliance is low. So it can be normal middle ear, it can be ossicular discontinuity, or it can be fluid. So you should know that fluid the compliance is low or high, whatever. So many questions can be framed from this topic. I hope this is clear now. Okay.